All right, gonna have a little fun today. I've decided to weigh in on one of the classic rock and roll debates: Van Halen, Roth years, or Hagar years. I've noticed that few people are on the fence with this one. There's the Roth camp and the Hagar camp, and very few are like, oh, I don't know, I like them both. Although having said that, my lovely wife, Tracy, who I hope to get involved in this channel someday, we're having a hard time coordinating schedules, but she is one of those. Whenever the subject comes up, her line has always been, why not have both? And I like to tease her about it a little bit because I come down hard on a particular side, which will be revealed as the video progresses. By the way, I realize there may be a few of you out there saying, but Mike, what about Gary Cherone? For me personally, the less said about the one album Gary Cherone experiment, the better. That just never felt at all like Van Halen to me. But if there are some Cherone fans out there, I'd love to hear from you. Let me know about it in the comments. Okay, so what's the best way to measure this? I've decided to use three main metrics. Number one, popularity/commercial success. Now, I realize that is absolutely not the be-all, end-all way to determine what is great music. However, I do think it can be instructive, so we're going to take that into account. Number two, the obvious one, vocal ability. And number three, showmanship/frontman abilities. Let's face it, if you're the singer of a rock and roll band, it goes far beyond just singing the tune. You are the face of the band and you need to entertain the folks. All right, here we go. Commercial success/general popularity. I got to be honest, this is not nearly as close as I thought it would be. But the bottom line is the Roth lineup has sold 57 million, whereas the Hagar lineup has sold 27 million. Now, 27 is nothing to shake a stick at for the Hagar years, but clearly Roth has more than doubled Hagar in album sales. Now, you might say record sales is kind of an archaic way to measure the popularity of a band, and you'd probably be right. So I took a look at Van Halen's most streamed songs on Spotify. And guess what? Roth has a huge advantage here as well. The top 6 in Van Halen's top 10 most streamed songs are all Roth-era songs. And interestingly, they're all from either the first album or 1984, the last Roth album. We've got Jump, of course, at number 1, Panama, those two both from 1984. Then we get 2 from the debut album, Running with the Devil, Ain't Talking About Love. Then it's back to 1984 with Hot for Teacher. And back to Van Halen 1 for You Really Got Me, the cover of the Kings classic. Then finally we get a Hagar tune coming in at number 7, Why Can't This Be Love? That was from 5150. The debut album with Hagar. Number 8, back to Van Halen 1 with Eruption. How cool is that? That one of their most streamed songs would literally be a guitar solo. That's a tribute to Eddie's greatness right there. Number 9, Can't Stop Loving You. That's Hagar for sure. I don't remember what album that was from. And number 10, Dance the Night Away. Finally, we get a Roth-era song that's not from the first or the last album, Dance the Night Away from Van Halen 2. And one final note related to this topic, I would say just in terms of cultural significance, the Roth years were definitely the peak of Van Halen. They were the undisputed kings of hard rock during that time. For example, headlining the US Festival in '83, over Ozzy Osbourne, Scorpions, Judas Priest, and all the biggest names in that genre. They were, of course, hugely popular during the Hagar years, but by that time, I think the glam rock thing had taken over, all your Motley Crues and Rats, and Van Halen seemed more like just steady old veterans at that point. Which brings us to a very important factor here, vocal ability. Now, David Lee Roth has always been sort of a vibe singer. We don't tend to think of him as having a conventionally great voice. He's all attitude, but it really works well for him. So I'm a huge fan, but I think the one thing that bugs me the most about Roth, and he still does it to this day, is the way he stubbornly refuses to just sing the song live. He's engaging the crowd, he stops and starts. That's cool, he is the front man, but it just grates on my nerves after a while. Let's say he's doing Running with the Devil. We all recognize that great opening line. I live my life like there's no tomorrow, and all I got I had to steal. Well, in concert you might get something like this. Live my life, no tomorrow, all I got. Look at all the people here tonight. But he sounds great on the records. He's got a very husky, bluesy voice. And I even love that high-pitched, airy scream he used to do. He says he stole it from Ian Gillan, although sadly he seems to have lost the ability to do that nowadays. I think it's a great tribute to Roth that Ronnie James Dio, who clearly knew a thing or two about great voices, once praised his voice as being one of the most expressive he had ever heard. On the other hand, Hagar is sort of the consummate professional. If you go to see him live, you're going to get something pretty faithful to the record. And as a pure voice, there's no question that he has a much wider range than Roth. He is much stronger over that range. His high notes are very full and done with chest or head voice as opposed to the airy Roth scream. Also, he seems to have held up better than Roth. You go to hear him now, it's not quite what it was back in the old days, but given his age, he's held up pretty impressively. And we have to talk about lyrics, which I'm including as sort of a corollary to vocal ability. It all works together in really setting the whole vibe of the group. Now, Roth and Hagar are both more or less firmly in the sex, drugs, and rock and roll category of lyricists, but I got to be honest and say I've always found Roth to be far more unique, interesting, and clever with his lyrics, where a lot of Hagar's stuff I find to be kind of hackneyed and trite. I love Roth's work on stuff like Push Comes to Shove from the Fair Warning album about a bitter breakup. I get the message, guess I knew it all along. Says you're a stranger here in paradise, you fool. Seems like 40 days and 40 nights since someone used my first name, including you. On the other hand, with Hagar, we get something like Dreams. Now, I guess it's all personal. I'm sure many people have found that song to be inspirational. But things like, so baby, dry your eyes, save all the tears you've cried, oh, that's what dreams are made of. It just seems a bit corny to me. I loved how Roth would do those little interludes where it would break down into more or less spoken word. Everybody wants some. I like the way the line runs up the back of those stockings. I always like those kind of high heels too. No, don't take them off, leave them on. Or Unchained, hey, that suit is you, you'll get some leg tonight for sure. Hagar, I think, tried to emulate that on a song like Good Enough, the opening track from 5150, but I think it falls flat. Hey, waitress, you have any specials me and the boys might be interested in? A rack of what? I don't know, I just wasn't buying it. Finally, and I've already alluded to this a little bit, we look at Roth and Hagar as entertainers, frontmen, and really the face of the group. As mentioned, Roth loved to play the clown. You weren't going to get a faithful rendition of what you heard on the record, but it was fun. And in spite of the drunken party boy image, Roth was actually extremely acrobatic on stage. That flying leap he used to take off the drum riser is, for me, one of the signature moves in rock and roll. Meanwhile, Hagar is, again, much more workmanlike. He's going to sing the song the way it's supposed to be sung. He's also very active on stage. He's running around. Remember, he plays guitar as well, so he liked to use that little headset vocal mic. So I always picture him running around, singing and playing the guitar. But again, I think Roth was more unique in this way. He invented a new kind of frontman. All the 70s guys, Robert Plant and that ilk, were great, but they were more the quiet, mysterious type, not necessarily talking so much. David Lee Roth invented a whole new personality where he was part rock singer and part game show host. So to sum up, and I doubt I really need to say this at this point, but I am Team Roth 100%. Not to take anything away from Sammy Hagar. Great singer who's had a long and illustrious career going back to the days with Montrose in the 70s. By the way, that is still my favorite thing that Hagar ever did. And then a long solo career, and then his work with Van Halen. But for me, Roth was the true original who brought a sense of humor and fun to the band that always felt like it was lacking to me after his departure. So let me know what you guys think. I'm sure there are some Hagar fans out there, and I know Roth rubs a lot of people the wrong way, and I get it. I could see where he wouldn't be everyone's cup of tea. If you think I'm wrong, let me know why, and we'll talk in the comments. Thanks.